Hi readers, welcome back to Lessons from the Homeroom. I'm so glad you're checking in to our final video on poetry. If you didn't watch any of the previous videos on poetry, please pause here and go back to the very beginning to the introduction of poetry video. So for those of you who are returning, thanks for coming in and checking back in. First, we're going to review all the things that you have to pay close attention to as you're reading a poem. Then I'm going to teach you a new comprehension strategy. This lesson will be filled with a game, some drawing, and growing as a reader. So, I'm really excited. Let's get started by doing a quick review. When you're reading poetry, there's small little packages beautifully wrapped with a ton of stuff inside. So it's really important that you look at the structure and the layout of the poem. You might also find some rhyme in some poems. When you're reading, it's really important to also pay attention to the punctuation, making sure that you're pausing at periods and commas, so that way you're reading it the way that the poet intended. It also helps for you to identify any pattern or rhythm that's happening in that poem. Furthermore, poets are very clever with their word choice, and you have to think deeply about the meanings of the words and the overall poem. So today, we're going to practice this with a game. So the game is, can you name that title? So I'm going to read you a poem, paying close attention. I want you to think, what's the title going to be? So it comes from this book, Underneath My Bed, List Poems by Brian P. Cleary. And here is our poem. So again, start to think about what the title may be. Butterscotch and bumblebees, ears of corn and mac and cheese, pet canaries, dandelions, those silly shoes of Uncle Brian's, scrambled eggs and globs of mustard, caution signs, banana custard, smiley faces, butterflies, rubber chickens, lemon pies, an ancient book that you might read, the snow right where your dog just peed, a daffodil, the stars and sun. Oops, my cab's here, gotta run. I'm pulling out some words from there. I can see, okay, bumblebees, ears of corn, caution signs, smiley faces. I'm thinking about those emojis right now. What's the one thing all of those things have in common? Put a picture of those in your mind and say, what's the same? Did you guess? I'll give you a clue, it's just one word, and it's a color. Did you guess yellow? Well, that's the title of the poem, Yellow. All of those things in that list, the one thing they shared in common was yellow. And I used a strategy to help me identify that title. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So while I change out the anchor chart, I need you to go grab a piece of paper and a pencil because we're about ready to launch into our comprehension strategy and you need something to draw on. All right, go grab your stuff. All right, so we're going to learn about the comprehension strategy, visualizing. I find this to be really helpful anytime I read. It might be because I'm a very artistic person and I think of things in pictures. However, when you're reading poetry, sometimes visualizing really can help you go deeper into the meaning of the poem. So what is visualizing? Visualizing is creating a picture in your own mind using clues and words from the text. So you're creating pictures in your mind using clues from the text, which is really important, and words. Remember, our poets like to use very clever words, so we might have to take this plus other little clues to put it all together and imagine what the story is about, having pictures in our mind. So I'm going to add to the anchor chart a little camera with a picture. So we're going to do an example of creating a quick picture in our minds as I read a poem. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to be using this book called Days Like This by Simon James, and I'm going to read you a poem. And you know, illustrators are really good at visualizing. So you guys are going to create a picture in your mind right now about what you're hearing in the poem. It's called Sleeping Outdoors. So as I read this, I want you to start creating that picture of what's happening in your mind. Under the dark is a star. Under the star is a tree. Under the tree is a blanket. And under the blanket is me by Marchette Chute. So let's think about what you picture in your mind. If you were to take out a camera and take a picture of what's happening, I see a north star, because it says a star. I see a tree. Under the tree is a blanket, and they're sleeping outdoors, so I'm envisioning a little kid in a sleeping bag. Is that what you could visualize? Is that what you would see right there in that camera? This is what the illustrator saw. Very similar, right? All right, now, not only is visualizing just a single picture, it's kind of like a movie in your mind. So sometimes your picture, your visualization might have some movement to it, sort of a little mini video. So from the same book, I'm going to read you another poem. This time, have your piece of paper and pencil ready. I'm going to read this poem twice, and I want you to sketch really quickly. It doesn't have to be perfect. This isn't art class. Art isn't perfect anyway, but you are just going to create a quick little picture, and it might have a little moving parts to it in your mind, but just draw out what you can visualize as I read this other poem from the same book, Days Like This. This poem is called The Picnic. We brought a rug for sitting on. Our lunch was in a box. The sand was warm. We didn't wear hats or shoes or socks. Waves came curling up the beach. We waited. It was fun. Our sandwiches were different kinds. I dropped my jelly one. That one was by Dorothy Aldis. So quickly right now, just start your picture about what you visualized as I read this story. In just a moment, I'll read it again. All right, The Picnic. We brought a rug for sitting on. Our lunch was in a box. The sand was warm. We didn't wear hats or shoes or socks. Waves came curling up on the beach. We waited. It was fun. Our sandwiches were different kinds. I dropped the jelly one by Dorothy Aldis. So wrapping up your little quick sketch. All right, and here's what the illustrator created as a visual. So for me on that poem, I did see a picture, but this time it wasn't just like a snapshot like the first poem, it was more like a little movie was playing. In my mind, I could visualize a family at the beach. It said they were at the beach waiting in the water, so I can see some sand, some water. I also saw a picnic basket and a big blanket, and I saw this little toddler about ready to bite into a sandwich and then dropped it. Is that what you saw? Is that what's in your picture? So sometimes it's a quick snapshot, sometimes it's a little movie that's playing, but these two things can help you really think deeper and connect deeper to anything you read. But when you do visualize, you should be able to say either to yourself in your own mind or share with a partner, a friend, your teacher, I can visualize that, and you can explain. So I could visualize that there was a family at the beach, some water, they were right by the water, they were having a picnic. Or you could say, I could visualize that I was the little kid under the blanket, under a tree, under a star, under a dark sky. So that is a great way to connect deeper to your stories. So now it's your turn to try this. You're going to grab your poetry books, find a cozy nook, read for as long as you need to, and take the time to visualize. Welcome back, readers. Here is one last activity on visualizing. Warning, this one is gross. The school microwave. The microwave at school is gross. It has the caked remains of stuff that looks a bit like blood and scabs and parts of brains. You see the crumbs from fish sticks and the sauce from fettuccine. The noodle types found there include spaghetti and linguine. Nachos, cocoa, tenders, you'll find signs of each of these, along with chicken patties, eggs, and several kinds of cheese. With hardened broth and hot dog juice, the sides are brown and rough, but whatever I heat up in there tastes like my favorite stuff. So, are you visualizing something like I am? Super gross microwave. Are you visualizing something like this illustrator? Doing that work, I found that this poem was really funny because of the things that I was capturing pictures of. You have done such a great job growing during this unit on poetry. You've explored all different types. You've paid really close attention to a lot of different things, and I'm really excited that you now have a comprehension strategy that helps a lot during poetry reading, but also anything you read. Anything you read, you can visualize to help you connect deeper to the story. So congratulations and good work. Thanks for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you in the next Lessons from the Homeroom.